All right. Hi, I'm Erin Hasselog, and my business is Well in LA Inc., which is stemming from a lot of things that I'm passionate about in life, most of which is health and wellness. My background is in public health and counseling and education psychology, so I've always worked in the capacity of trying to find little ways to help people make their lives better. And I provide services as a health coach, so working with people one-on-one or in small groups to overcome certain health behaviors and just find ways to integrate wellness in their day throughout the day. And one of the really fun pieces along the way of trying to establish my own business has been learning everything from social media to email marketing to setting up my website. So I've kind of taken all of those things that I've learned along the way and I package them, and I work with other small business owners and entrepreneurs who are trying to launch their brand in the field and understand the whole online world of marketing. And I work with them as well. So I do the coaching and I do the consulting, and that's kind of what Well in LA is all about. So my background, I mentioned a little bit in the intro, is public health and education and counseling psychology. My undergrad, I went for health sciences, and I wasn't quite sure what I was going to do with that. You know, I wanted to be a doctor, a nurse, everything in between, and I just really didn't enjoy the clinical setting, so I decided to branch out from that. I love working with people and being able to excite them about their own health and wellness. And in grad school, I fell into public health and kind of fell in love with the outreach aspect of it and being able to work with so many people on such important issues. And additionally, needed to make money, so I started teaching group exercise classes, which was a lot of fun. And I was able to connect with people on a very personal level, which I also enjoyed. And I've been teaching group exercise since then, so for about 7 years now. And it's a lot of fun, and it's a great way to kind of obviously practice what I preach. I have held mostly full-time corporate or academic jobs since graduating in 2008 with my master's in public health, and worked some interesting positions in DC for the Department of Defense and behavioral health, and moved to LA in beginning of 2010 to be with my now fiance. And out here, I have kind of just been trying to find and strike that balance. It's definitely a different world than the East Coast, and finding that working for myself and working with a lot of other creative people has been the more fun balance of things out here. I worked for UCLA for a short period and just kind of didn't feel like I fit into that academic environment, so striking out on my own began. I started blogging and started finding other creative outlets outside of that. And it's grown into its own thing, and formally launched and incorporated at in the last quarter of 2011. So that was a huge milestone for me to incorporate, and something I've learned as somebody who's not a business background. I think blogging is an important cornerstone for your business for a number of reasons. If you have a site, it gives you the SEO boost that everybody wants, so you can move up and gain visibility in the search engine rankings, which I recommend to my clients. And I don't think that you have to think of it as a traditional, I blog a post every day. There are a lot of creative ways to do it. Creative formats. It can be photos, videos, just text, a written combination of everything. But I do recommend blogging as a way to get your audience to know you, to be comfortable with you, and to learn a little bit about you, which they may not have the opportunity to do otherwise. So there's a fine line and there's a balance, especially for people who really like their privacy. You don't have to spill everything, but really just let people know what your passion is, why you're in this field, and what you can contribute. I don't believe that either coast has advantages over the other. Certainly on the West Coast, you kind of get the sense that it's more of a creative vibe, whereas East Coast is more of the logical mindsets. But I think it depends on what your passion is, what your market is, what your business is, where you land, and making the best of it no matter where you are. I never considered myself a traditional creative person. I've always pursued very logical fields. But out here, I'm finding ways to tap into my creativity in ways I would have never expected to do otherwise. And it's been a really fun adventure for business and for personal introspection and just kind of exploring what it is and what it can be. So yeah, I think it's not a matter of where you are, and the internet certainly levels that to a great extent, but who you are and how you convey what you're passionate about. Just being meaningful in everything that you do, no matter where you may be. My favorite thing about being young, female, and entrepreneurial. Obviously, being young is a lot of fun. You have so much drive and energy. There are so many things that I feel like I can take on during the day, which sometimes also works against me. But learning to be realistic in what I can do. I do love the energy that I get from other women, other young women, other women who are experienced, who have insights to offer. I think it's an incredible time to be a woman, to be a small business owner, and to really have such a great network of strength and support. I never would have imagined that I would have found such wonderful friends on Twitter, of all places. But I feel so supported. I feel like I'm going in the right path, the right direction, and finding other women who are entrepreneurial in spirit and share that and see that in each other and kind of rally around as we all build our businesses has been so important to everything that I do. So yeah, so I wouldn't trade it for the world. I don't want to be a YME. I think being a young female entrepreneur is where it's at, and certainly looking forward to growing into that role. I do, a lot of them. So I'm going to think the order of this. Women that I admire women who are out there sharing their own personal journeys with health and wellness. I think Chris Carr, with her Crazy Sexy Life, is one person that I really have a deep admiration for, because she turned such a negative event into a positive experience that she shares and teaches other people how to take control of their own health and wellness. And then on a smaller scale, women, again, that I've met on Twitter who are out there doing their own thing. It's the people who I would consider my peers that also inspire me. In a larger sense, I love reading people who speak to clean, simple lives online. There's Leo of Zen Habits, which is a great site to read. And then just, gosh, there's so many, Seth Godin. Just people out there who are being introspective and purposeful and meaningful in what they do with their lives in front of the computer. Being young, being female, being entrepreneurial has tons of advantages that I've already outlined some of those. I think as a coach and as someone who consults, it provides me a really solid network of women to tap into. Maybe I'm not the appropriate person to handle a situation or a client, but I know a network of other women who are, and that works in its own way. So I get referrals from other women, and other women, I provide them with referrals for clients as well. So it's a great, strong social network that also has its economic advantages, obviously. Like, we work together, and the stronger we are in knowing our passions and our niches, the stronger we can be in making those recommendations and knowing that our friends and peers will also recommend us in business and in personal things as well. So it's been a great journey to meet other women and connect, and something I would definitely recommend. Don't look at other women as your competition. That's the worst thing you can do. Look at them as your peers, what you can learn from them, and what you can offer one another as business women.
Awesome.
I would say some of the disadvantages are trying to do it all by yourself. It can be really difficult to keep the energy up sometimes. Like, you have days that are really great where you feel like you made a lot of connections, and then it could be a couple days where you don't hear anything at all and you're like, what did I do wrong? What's going on? Did that content suck? So there's a lot of self-doubt that can come with it, but you really need to dig deep and have written goals, know your purpose, and know that outcome to sort of overcome those days of self-doubt, or days where you feel like you bit off more than you can chew, which is an easy thing to do, where you feel like you can take on the world. So, recognize that things happen over time, and they happen in manageable, incremental steps. And if somebody comes along who's a good fit to be a partner with, all the better, because then you can split that. But I do think that there are days I really wish and would love to have a business partner in everything I'm doing, because it feels like a lot to be doing by myself. But I am doing it on my own, and there's that reward at the end of the day, too. I really wanted to approach my website as a way for people to get to know me. So it needed to be very personal in the branding, and I took a lot of time and a lot of edits in getting it where it is. I wanted it to be fresh, to be very clean, to be very simple. Those were my requirements at the outset. It's gone through a lot of drafts and a lot of iterations, so I really appreciate people who have provided feedback along the way. And I kind of feel about 9 months, 10 months in, that it's finally starting to be solid. I understand what I'm doing, and I don't fault myself for all of the mistakes I've made along the way. It's been such a great growing process, and I have made plenty of them. But just arriving at what that is and what I want it to represent has taken a lot of careful thought and consideration. So if you think that you have a great idea, allow yourself the time to make those edits, make changes, elicit feedback, and know that it's probably going to take at least 6 months, I would say, to really find your footing and know your brand. You'll find tweaks to your mission statement and things like that will affect what your aesthetic is online. And then once you do feel very comfortable with what that is, make sure that it conveys across all platforms. So if you're on Twitter, if you're on Facebook, Google Plus, and any other sort of niche sites that are great for your market, that your brand is clear, crisp, and represented on that. It's appropriate for that outlet, that network, or that site, but it also maintains the integrity that is your brand. And yeah, mine just evolved over time, to be honest. I wanted it to be a very positive, very bright experience for people, and I hope that that's what it is when they come to my site. Clean, crisp, bright, and positive. So why the 2 masters and the possible doctorate? All I have ever wanted to do is work with people in health and wellness, and trying to find the best way to do that. I love the public outreach, is why I also blog and write on the topic, because I know that I don't have the time to talk to 100 people in my day about health. But if 100 people read my article in a day, then in some small way that's impacted their health and their wellness, or at least I would love to believe so. And I do hear from people, and I receive testimonials, so I do know that what I'm doing is positive. Do not be afraid to ask for feedback ever. But the 2 master's degrees, I had graduated from undergrad and kind of had a freak out moment, to be honest. I wasn't sure what I was going to do. The plans I had originally had to volunteer for an entire year before figuring out the next steps fell through at the last minute. I had been overseas for the summer and missed a housing opportunity, so I came back and had sold most of my worldly possessions, which isn't much at the end of college, and had anticipated moving out for this volunteer opportunity, and found out I had no house, and just the situation was really bad, and my parents said to 22-year-old me, like, this is not a good idea. You should probably stay at home, figure this out. You can derive a new game plan and move forward. So I did, and I started applying to master's in public health programs and got into a really great school and had the opportunity to finish out with two. Midway through, my advisor said, hey, there's this other one that's a great add-on. So I finished both master's degrees in just a little over 3 years, which was fun. It was a very intense period. And I appreciate that formal education because it's really helped me to think clearly and logically in the business world, if you will, without having the formal business training. And it's led to some really great job opportunities. I've had a lot of fun. Working for the Department of Defense was actually a lot of fun. And something that I do kind of miss. Like, it was a great environment, and I got to work with military families, so that was a very cool project. And the potential PhD, I really love counseling and working with people. That's been my passion, is the one-on-one. I really thought I enjoy public health, but I like the interpersonal relationship that develops working with somebody over a period of time. There are a lot of great coaching programs out there. But for me personally, I think the next best step would be getting a doctorate in clinical psych and having the flexibility and the option to work in settings where people who are more so in need can receive the care and attention they deserve around their health and wellness. Because right now, the services I provide are quite frankly a luxury for people. If you cannot afford to pay for sessions, I don't offer healthcare reimbursement. And so I think working within our current healthcare system would be an important step for me moving forward. So that's why the potential doctorate. But I would also love to continue counseling and working with people as I'm going through the school process. So I hope to be able to build the foundation of Well in LA to do that and have that as a flexible option. So my drink of choice has recently changed. We were out one evening and stumbled upon this great speakeasy in Los Angeles. There are a few of them that still remain. It was kind of this dark and mysterious little venture to the back of a restaurant. Had a tiny little square on the door, and we knocked, and they're like, yes, you can come in. And it's the Varnish Room, so if you want to know, you can hit me up. I will share where. But they had a great grapefruit artisan drink. It was grapefruit whiskey with like shaved ginger in it. It was so good. Just, you could taste every layer. So the little speakeasy drink is my current favorite. And when I'm being very low maintenance, I just like a really great glass of red wine. When I'm not working on my business, I am enjoying my city. I live in LA, and it has so much to do. I actually think it's a really hard city to have visitors in because it's so sprawling, but I've really come to enjoy little pockets of things. I've got girlfriends that I go on hikes with, and we rant about our little businesses and things going on in life. I love going to yoga. It's my big stress relief. It's sort of my sacred space to sort of decompress. Nothing goes through my mind except the fact that I'm sweating a ton. And just really enjoying the beach here and getting outside as much as possible. I do not love being in front of my computer. So I try to be very smart about my workday and keep it to no more than 10 hours or so on the computer, and then just be free. So read, yoga, get outside. Let's see. So my fiance and I became engaged on Christmas Day of 2011. Yeah. And we've been together for 6 years, so it was a really fun moment, and something that we had been looking forward to. We did long distance for 3 of the 6 years at various periods in time, and that's a whole other conversation. So we're very excited to be in the same city. knowing the possibility that we could end up going to another country with his work, or yeah, which is also a great reason for building an online business and having flexibility. But as far as planning a wedding goes, we are keeping it very small, very low key, and just kind of making it a party to celebrate things, celebrate our union. We're thinking Vegas, which my mom is in utter shock and like over, but really I'm not the bride type, if you will. I'm probably going to rent a wedding dress. I found a really cool shop. Rent something really cool, unique, that's probably otherwise out of my price range, and have just a really fun time celebrating our relationship, the next step in our relationship, and sharing that day with friends and people we love. As someone who has an online presence, I have always been very closely guarded of my private life. So that has been a balancing act, to say the least. My other half is not on social media at all. He doesn't have a Facebook page. He doesn't do Twitter. He's very, very, very private in that sense. So I keep details about our personal life kind of offline as much as possible, which has been good. I think as I feel comfortable with kind of sharing more private details, that may be something I do. Right now, I feel like my mission is to share with people how to integrate health and wellness. And if I find ways that it's appropriate to relate examples of our relationship and things going on in our life, then I think I will do that. At this time, he's not a great example for sharing. I love him very much. He works very hard. He works long days in visual effects and post-production. So we do things like go to yoga together and that kind of stuff. So we find little ways to be healthy, but for the most part, I feel, again, like my mission and presence online is to help people find it in their own days, and doing that with relating examples going on in my life. So again, if it's appropriate, I'm happy to share, and if it's not a good fit, I'll keep it quiet. I think, the other thing is we will have multiple careers over our lifetime. It's so, I mean, my mom worked for 30 years, like she's still working the same job. She's been in her job for 30 plus years, and she's like, you've had so many jobs already. And I'm like, I know, but I'm just kind of exploring as I go along. And, there's this one common thread, this thing that I'm really passionate about, and I'm just trying to find out the best way to like do this. But I do think, we have room for multiple careers, which is like when I told my fiance, I was like, I want to go back for my doctorate. And he's like, what? I was like, but it all lends, like it's the same the same thing. It's the same message.